I've been in a relationship with my girlfriend for 7 years now and lived with her for, I think, about 4 years. During this time, I have had an on and off relationship with her parents, usually more off than on. We moved about 3 hours away from them, which I thought would help us diminish contact a fair bit. But it's actually worse. They visit once a month. They used to do Friday, Sunday, then it became Wednesday, Sunday. Now they do the entire week, and it's just too much, man. They sit around the house doing nothing all day and hog the TV. I come home from work and then have to cook for them. Then I end up washing the dishes afterwards. But the second I want a bit of downtime to play on my Xbox, they start moaning that I'm taking the TV from them and criticizing and saying I should respect them as guests. Going on from this, they are always rude to me. My girlfriend is an only child and is absolutely the golden girl of the family. She's a scientist with a master's degree on really good money. I'm her lazy idiot boyfriend, fit to be the butt of every joke by them. Their entire sense of humor is mocking my intelligence, making jokes about how I wouldn't know how to change a light bulb, or picking out children's books for me when we're in town, or asking me if I need help counting past 10. Yeah. It was funny the first few years, but now it's getting old. If it's not dumb jokes, it's lazy jokes. Comments about how I'm scared of working, comments about how my idea of a hard day's work is getting off my chair and walking to the fridge. Comments about how the furthest I've gone on holiday is from one side of the house to the other, constantly taking jabs at my weight even though they are both fatter than me. Not being funny. I'm just as qualified as she is. I work the same amount of hours as she does. I'm in a pretty similar field than she is. I come home and I'm the one that cooks and cleans, not her. They call me lazy because I won't run around making them a coffee all the time, and because after dinner, I go to my room and stay there. I'm not sleeping. I don't want to talk to them. They also argue with me nonstop, constantly try to take control of everything when they are in the house, try to establish rules for me in my own house while they are there. And I've spoken to my girlfriend about toning them down since I've had a million or more arguments with them and they don't take me seriously. They speak to me like I'm the family dog or something. My girlfriend does nothing. I clearly clash with them. We aren't going to get along. I just want to be able to have my own house and my own space without them spending a week every month invading it. We live in a small place without many rooms. They are hard to avoid. I feel as though I'm entitled to have a say in my own place. I am paying half of the rent after all. I'm not stopping her seeing them. She can visit whenever she likes. I just don't want them here. Edit. I want to add that in all fairness to my girlfriend, she has attempted to speak to them on multiple occasions. Me saying she has done nothing is a little unfair. The main issue is her mom is a pretty solid manipulator and her dad can be quite volatile. Neither of them take her all too seriously, which I do think is a bit of an issue for her. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the jerk NTA, but looking at this post about you and wanting to break up with your girlfriend and seeing how you said you were in a love triangle at your work in another post, why stay with your girlfriend? Clearly, she isn't working to fix the relationship if she's ignoring your feelings about her family, and you're already checked out if you're having feelings for someone else that you work with. Comment 2. Not the jerk NTA. You need to think long and hard about this relationship because your partner doesn't have your back. She should have put a stop to the insults in the beginning. Think what your in-laws will be like when you two have kids. You think it's bad now. You haven't seen nothing yet. There's no reason they should be spending a whole week every month. I would suggest some boundaries and sticking with them. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments and support on my last post. It's been a tough few months since I last updated and things have only gotten worse. After my last post, my girlfriend and I had a long talk about the situation with her parents. She agreed to try and set some boundaries with them, but it didn't go well. Her mom got really upset and started crying, saying that we were trying to push them out of our lives. Her dad got angry and started yelling at my girlfriend, saying that she was being ungrateful and disrespectful. It was a huge mess, and in the end, my girlfriend backed down and told them they could keep visiting as much as they wanted. Since then, things have been even more tense than before. Her parents started coming over even more often, sometimes staying for 2 weeks at a time. They would constantly criticize everything I did, from the way I cooked to the way I dressed. They would make snide comments about my job and my hobbies, and they would always find a way to bring up embarrassing stories from my past. One particularly bad incident happened when they were over for Easter. We were all sitting around the table, and her dad started telling this story about how I had gotten drunk at a family wedding a few years back and made a fool of myself. I tried to laugh it off, but he just kept going, adding more and more embarrassing details. I could feel my face getting red, and I could see my girlfriend looking uncomfortable. Finally, I snapped and told him to shut up. He got really angry and started yelling at me, saying that I had no right to talk to him like that in his daughter's house. I lost my temper and started yelling back, and before I knew it, we were in a full-blown argument. My girlfriend tried to intervene, but her mom started crying and saying that I was tearing the family apart. It was a total disaster. After that, things just kept getting worse. Her parents would constantly bring up the argument and use it as an excuse to criticize me even more. They would tell my girlfriend that she could do better than me, that I was holding her back. They even started hinting that they wanted her to move back home with them. I tried to talk to my girlfriend about it, but she just kept making excuses for them. She would say that they were just worried about her, that they didn't mean any harm. But I could see that it was taking a toll on her too. She was constantly stressed out and anxious, and she would often cry after they left. Things finally came to a head last month. Her parents were over for another extended stay, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I told my girlfriend that I was done, that I couldn't live like this anymore. I said that either she needed to set some real boundaries with her parents, or I was going to move out. She got really upset and started crying, saying that I was being unfair and that I was making her choose between me and her family. We argued for hours, and in the end, I just couldn't take it anymore. I packed a bag and left, telling her that I needed some space to think. I crashed on a friend's couch for a few days, trying to figure out what to do. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I couldn't go back to that situation. I loved my girlfriend, but I couldn't spend the rest of my life being treated like dirt by her parents. So I made the decision to end things. I went back to the apartment when I knew her parents wouldn't be there, and I packed up all my stuff. I left her a note explaining why I was leaving, and I told her that I hoped she could find happiness without me. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do, but I knew it was the right choice for me. Since then, I've been staying with friends and trying to figure out my next steps. It's been tough, but I know I made the right decision. I just hope that my girlfriend can see that too, and that she can find a way to stand up to her parents and live her own life. Anyway, that's where things are at now. Thanks for reading, and thanks again for all the support. It means a lot to me. My bonus daughter's biomom shows up uninvited to graduation after years of neglect. So I plan a dinner to show her she's the outsider and watch her squirm as we bond like a real family. 4 years ago, I legally adopted my bonus daughter at her request because her biological mom was a drug addict and had abandoned her from infancy through age 10. The last straw happened when she was 11 and came to live with her father and me full-time because her biological mom was on yet another binge. Nobody had seen her in months. She left our bonus daughter with her grandmother and went missing. My husband and I got word of what happened, and we picked her up, filed for full custody, the whole 9 yards. 3 years later, after zero contact from her, she shows up on drugs, of course, and pregnant with a random guy's kid. That is when our bonus daughter asked me to adopt her because, in her words, "You've been present in my life more in the past few years than my mom has my whole life." Not long after this, her biological mom has the baby, who was taken by CPS because of neonatal addiction, and she disappears again. Parental severance and adoption go through uncontested. Life is peaceful. Fast forward to now. My daughter recently turned 18 and is getting ready to graduate. She asked her extended family, on her biological mom's side, to come to her graduation, which I am completely fine with since she has maintained contact with them. They didn't abandon her. But she was asked if she wanted her biological mom to be there. She told them she does, but at the same time doesn't, because she doesn't know how it would make her feel to see her in person again. But at the same time, she knows she is still her biological mom, so she has mixed feelings. And just for context, her biological mom is pregnant again with a new guy and has been clean for a year, but we all know she could slip again too easily. I will admit I was quite hurt when I found out she was considering letting her be there. The way I see it, she abandoned her yet again, with almost zero contact or anything throughout the years. So why should she share any of the happiness and glory that comes from my daughter graduating? I know my daughter is 18 now, and I can't do anything if she decides to have a relationship with her biological mom, but it still hurts nonetheless. Also, yes, I know if it wasn't for her biological mom, I wouldn't have such an amazing daughter. But I also know that if I didn't step up, my daughter wouldn't have had a stable mother in her life. Her biological mom caused a lot of trauma for that young lady that I had to help her work through. I put her in therapy, took her to the doctors, helped her gain weight. I made sure I was present for all the big things she experienced, all the firsts that are important for teenage girls. First kiss, first boyfriend, first heartbreak, etc. So am I the idiot for not wanting her biological mom to be there for such an important day in my daughter's life? P.S. If my daughter absolutely insisted she be there, then yes, I would grin and bear it. But she has talked with me and is on the fence about it. I am asking on here because she wanted my opinion on what to do, but I know I am biased. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You're the idiot. Your daughter's biological mother attending graduation doesn't erase or replace you as being the mother who stepped up to help raise her. That being said, let your daughter decide on her own if she wants her biological mother there or not. Don't influence her choice as it could cause resentment between you and your daughter in the future. Comment 2. I'd be irritated too at biological mom showing up for the victory lap, but it's your daughter's choice. However, if this is the first time meeting again in years, I'd recommend it not be at a high-stress group family event. They should have a one-on-one meeting first with biological mom focused purely on your daughter. Not the idiot now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a while since my last post, and a lot has happened since then. First off, I want to thank you all for your support and advice on my previous post. It really helped me navigate through a difficult situation, so here's what's been going on. My daughter's graduation was last week and it was a beautiful ceremony. She looked absolutely stunning in her cap and gown, and I couldn't have been more proud of her. However, the day took an unexpected turn when her biological mother showed up unannounced. I was caught off guard when I saw her walking towards us. She looked healthier than the last time I saw her, but I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. My daughter, on the other hand, seemed happy to see her. They hugged, and I could see the tears in both of their eyes. As the day went on, I tried my best to be cordial and polite, but I couldn't shake off the feeling of resentment. I had been there for my daughter through thick and thin, and now her biological mother was trying to swoop in and take credit for all the hard work I had put in. Things took a turn for the worse when her biological mother pulled me aside and asked if she could have a moment alone with my daughter. I hesitated at first, but I didn't want to cause a scene, so I agreed. However, as soon as they were out of sight, I started to panic. What if she said something to upset my daughter? What if she tried to manipulate her? I couldn't take it anymore, so I followed them and overheard their conversation. What I heard broke my heart. Her biological mother was apologizing for not being there for her and promising to be a better mother from now on. She even had the audacity to ask if she could move in with us. I lost my cool at that point and confronted her. I told her that she had no right to make such promises after abandoning her daughter for so many years. I reminded her of all the times she had let her down and how I had been the one to pick up the pieces. The argument escalated, and before I knew it, we were both yelling at each other. My daughter tried to intervene, but it was too late. The damage had been done. Her biological mother stormed off, leaving my daughter in tears. I felt terrible for ruining her special day, but I couldn't help but feel justified in my actions. I had worked too hard to let her biological mother waltz back into her life and take all the credit. However, as the days went by, I started to realize the gravity of my mistake. My daughter became distant and withdrawn. She wouldn't talk to me and spent most of her time locked up in her room. I tried to apologize and make things right, but she wouldn't listen. It wasn't until a week later that I found out the real reason behind her behavior. Apparently, her biological mother had been clean for over a year and had been trying to reach out to her for months. She had even sent her letters, but I had intercepted them and hidden them away. I was ashamed of myself. I had let my own insecurities and fears get in the way of my daughter's happiness. I had been so focused on protecting her that I had ended up hurting her instead. I knew I had to make things right, so I sat down with my daughter and had a long talk. I apologized for my behavior and promised to support her in whatever decision she made. I even reached out to her biological mother and invited her over for dinner. It was a tense and awkward meal, but it was a start. We all had a lot of healing to do, but I was willing to put in the work. I realized that my daughter needed both of us in her life, and I had to learn to share her. Looking back, I realized that I had been holding onto a lot of pain and resentment from the past. I had been so focused on being the perfect mother that I had forgotten what was truly important, my daughter's happiness. I know that we still have a long way to go, but I'm hopeful for the future. I'm learning to let go of my fears and trust in my daughter's judgment. She's a smart and capable young woman, and I know that she'll make the right decisions for herself. Thank you all for listening to my story. It's been a tough journey, but I'm grateful for the lessons I've learned along the way. My mother criticizes my daughter on her birthday trip to New York, so I cut her out of our lives and made her realize she lost her daughter and grandchildren forever. I, 34-year-old female, have a really difficult history with my mom, 60-year-old female, for many reasons. For brevity's sake, I'll just say she can be very hypercritical and judgmental. We've had blow-ups in the past, so I try to keep things superficial. She can also be critical of my kids, so again, I try to limit contact. My kids are 12-year-old female, 10-year-old male, and 7-year-old female. She is especially annoyed by my son because he's hyper. I thought I had a good idea by inviting my mom and my newly widowed grandma to come with us, me and my 2 daughters, on a trip to a store in New York for my then 6-year-old's birthday. It's heartbreaking to admit this, but I thought it would be a good idea because my son wouldn't be there, so I thought they couldn't get annoyed. We were going to spend one night there and go to the store in the morning. As soon as we get to the hotel, my daughter was very excited. She kept interrupting the adults and my Nana and Mom kept snapping at her, saying, "We are talking." I took her aside and nicely explained she needs to be patient and say excuse me. After that, my daughter asked them multiple times if she could read them a story. They brushed her off. We go to eat upstairs and my daughter is sitting next to me. She had a small stuffed animal with her and started making it dance on my shoulder. That apparently bothered my Nana, who yelled at her pretty nastily to stop it right now. My daughter started to quietly cry with her head in my lap, which also annoyed them. They made comments like, "Oh, why is she crying? Does she not want to be here? And why does she have to be all over you all the time?" I tried to ignore them and not get mad while trying to soothe my kid. She said she missed her daddy and they rolled their eyes. I was starting to reach my limit. My daughter begged my mom to sit next to her, but she wouldn't. My daughter was telling me about a boy who has a crush on her, and we giggled. My mom asked what we were laughing about. I went to answer, but my daughter shot her hand up to cover my mouth because she was embarrassed and said, "No, don't tell her." When I looked back up at my mom, she looked very annoyed and wouldn't make eye contact with me. Apparently, this bothered them too, so I said, "I have a feeling you want to say something?" My Nana yells, "Yes, I have never seen a child that needs to be all over her mother and the center of attention all the time." I saw red. I said, "Wow, that must be awful for you." "I am so sorry. A child that wants to talk at their own birthday celebration? That's insane. I can't believe you are getting mad at her for acting her age." A bunch of other things were said. My poor daughters were crying and I felt like the worst mom ever. When we got outside, my youngest was saying that it's all her fault for making them mad and that she's an idiot. It ended the life of me. Of course, I told her it was not her fault at all. It was mine for thinking this would be a good idea. I felt so low. I dragged my kids out of a birthday celebration I had set up. My mom paid for the hotel room, which makes me feel guilty as well. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Your mother and grandmother are from very different generations. Although I am the same age as your mom, she simply doesn't understand or want to understand that children are not mindless robots who are only seen and not heard. I am so sorry for you and your daughter, and am proud that you ended the hurtful adventure, letting mom and grandma be hurtful to one another. I would be going very low contact with them in the future. Comment 2. Not the a-hole. Your poor baby, QQ, that sort of stuff, causes insecurity later in life. You were right to pull her out and protect her. You guys sound like you have a very healthy relationship. Trust your gut more. You're her mama. As for your mom, phew. Wow, different generations indeed. My grandma did not act like that, so I don't think that's an excuse at all. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading my last post and for all your support. It really means a lot to me. I wanted to give you an update on what's been happening since then. After the disastrous trip to New York, things were pretty tense between my mom, Nana, and me. I tried to keep my distance and focus on my kids, especially my daughter who had been so upset. I wanted to make it up to her, so I decided to throw her a small birthday party at home with just our immediate family. The party was going well at first. My daughter was happy and my son was on his best behavior. But then my mom showed up unexpectedly. I was surprised to see her, given how things had ended in New York. She said she wanted to apologize and make amends. I was hesitant, but decided to give her a chance. She pulled me aside and started talking about how she felt left out and unappreciated. She said she had always tried her best to be a good mother and grandmother, but it seemed like nothing she did was ever good enough. I listened patiently, trying to understand her perspective. But then she started criticizing my parenting again, saying that I was too lenient with my kids and that they needed more discipline. She even brought up some old grudges from when I was a teenager, saying that I had always been ungrateful and rebellious. I tried to stay calm, but I could feel my anger rising. I told her that I was doing my best as a parent and that I didn't need her constant criticism. She got defensive and started yelling at me, saying that I was being disrespectful and that I had no right to talk to her that way. Things quickly escalated, and before I knew it, we were in a full-blown argument. My kids heard the commotion and came running in, looking scared and confused. I tried to reassure them that everything was okay, but I could see the hurt in their eyes. My mom stormed out, saying that she was done with me and my ungrateful family. I was left feeling shaken and guilty, wondering if I had handled things the right way. In the days that followed, I couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. I realized that my relationship with my mom had always been strained, even when I was a kid. She had always been critical and controlling, and I had never felt like I could truly be myself around her. I remembered one particular incident from when I was about 13. I had just started wearing makeup and experimenting with my style. One day I came downstairs wearing bright red lipstick and my mom freaked out. She told me I looked like a tramp and made me wash it off immediately. I was so embarrassed and ashamed, and I never forgot how that made me feel. Looking back, I could see how that incident and others like it had shaped my relationship with my mom. I had always felt like I had to walk on eggshells around her, never knowing what might set her off. I knew that I needed to set some boundaries with her for the sake of my own mental health and for the well-being of my kids. I didn't want them to grow up feeling the same way I had. So I made the difficult decision to limit contact with my mom for a while. I told her that I needed some space and that I would reach out when I was ready to talk. She didn't take it well, but I knew it was the right thing to do. It's been a few weeks now, and things are still tense. I miss my mom, but I also feel a sense of relief. I'm focusing on my kids and trying to create a happy, healthy home environment for them. I know that my relationship with my mom may never be perfect, but I'm hopeful that with time and effort, we can find a way to move forward. For now, I'm taking things one day at a time and trying to be the best mom I can be. Thanks for reading and for all your support. It really means a lot to me. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.